Jen dies here, standing in front of what used to be part of Cheryl Poindexter's animal sanctuary. Cheryl, who we've interviewed and has had this amazing land for 27 years, where she took in various rescue animals, horses, cats, dogs, koi fish, parrots, other animals that she mentioned as well. Her heart is with these animals. She's always felt drawn to these animals, and she built an amazing 11-acre home for these animals. And now, due to the devastating Bobcat wildfire, this is all that remains of Cheryl's home.
I had a 100-year-old barn, and it's gone. Everything's ash. I only could save my animals, and that was the most important thing.
You can just see it is completely gone. She said that she was only able to salvage a few things. She was able to get the majority of her animals out safely. Unfortunately, one cat was hiding and they were unable to find the cat, and so the cat did pass away. Thankfully, as Cheryl said, the community came together and helped her get the majority of the animals out and to safety. But the decades of memories here are burned away.
My dog trainer, Dolores Burton, saw me on the news and called me and said, "Honey, I've got my dog training facility. It has a dog run and a guest house, and you can bring all your dogs and you can be there." And her husband, Dale Burton, is incredible. And I went there, and this is in Leona Valley, and all of the neighbors came and stood around. They gave me toothbrush and clothes and beer and wine and groceries and toilet paper and clothes. And I mean, it was just incredible. And I had a place to be with my dogs. And it's like every good fortune that happened to me was because of my dogs and my animals. You know? I mean, and if it weren't for them, I don't know what I would have done. So I'm sorry.
Cheryl mentioned she, as a photojournalist, had amazing photographs from her career, her time in Laurel Canyon, shooting various bands and shooting so much of interest. It's all burned away. All of her original photographs, her life's work, burned away.
Well, I was one of the first women art directors back in the 70s, and I worked with Teen Magazine, and I was art director for Teen Magazine and A&M Records, A&M Records, and then I started my own advertising agency, and I did Romancing the Stone, Jewel of the Nile, Scarface, and suffered through all the Me Too stuff. You know, I mean, we didn't have Me Too back then, and it was pretty brutal. And I was a documentary photographer in the late 60s, early 70s. And I lost all those black and white photographs that I had, you know, the backstage Chuck Berry stuff, the Sunset Strip riots. I lived in the Laurel Canyon next door to the Mamas and Papas, and I was hanging out with Gene Clark and, you know, the Birds, and it was just a real wild, you know, I lived in Laurel Canyon for like 30 years probably. It was a really favorite place of mine. So I grew up in Laurel Canyon, and I had all those photographs are gone. And so all my life's work, I designed nightclubs and restaurants, and I did movie advertising. I did Scarface, Romancing Stone, Jewel of the Nile. All that original art is gone. And so it just, all my life's work, it's just, you know, PTSD is all I got left.
As we were speaking with her, she would sometimes remember suddenly something that she cared about that is now gone. She mentioned her grandmother's quilts, gone due to the fire. It's, you know, it's really emotional being here. As we were driving here, I turned and I said to Tina and John, you know, it's kind of like, I feel like we're driving to a funeral or a cemetery or something. We were driving past burned out buildings, some standing here and there, burned out grass and trees, and just then we arrived here, and it was very clear exactly why Cheryl is just devastated and despondent. She says she is a pessimist, but she is going to rebuild. And I told her, I think, you're going to come back stronger and better than ever because you're doing this for the animals. You aren't doing this for yourself. So she has this 11 acres. And unfortunately, this is all that's left of it for now. She's safe. She's okay. She did escape only with the clothes on her back. She's relying on the kindness of the community who are bringing her food and clothing. Volunteers have helped house her horses and other animals. Occasionally, while speaking with Cheryl, even though she's a strong and feisty woman, occasionally speaking with her, she would look down and say, "Oh, my hands are shaking," or, "Oh, I lost my trail of thought there," or she would suddenly become emotional, and that's 100% understandable. But I think, as she said herself, this was traumatic. There's some PTSD going on here. They had a voluntary evacuation order here for her home, and so they started making plans. She started making plans to leave. An hour later, it was a mandatory evacuation. And she was able to get back in to get the rest of the animals that were still here, only because a friend had a special pass in order to do so. So she escaped with her life and the clothes on her back and thankfully her animals that she spends so much time caring for. Once again, this is an 11-acre, was an animal sanctuary. She lived here for 27 years, did amazing work, and will continue to do amazing work.
So this is the Medicine Horse Consulting, I think is the name of the place, and it's wonderful. And they're having a big cowboy event up the road here, and people board their horses here, and they gave me these 2 stalls. So it was really a godsend because, where do you put them? So
That's really nice. And yeah, as you were saying, you do the work that you do for the animals, for the benefit of these wonderful, beautiful animals.
Yeah, I've been moving them around and the stress on them. That quarter horse there is 35. He was my cutting horse, and he's a reiner. And that is Cody, and he's a therapy horse for kids and me.
We all need that.
That little mini horse there we rescued from the Lancaster shelter. So it's and then we had to move them twice because the place they were at was not working out. And
will they be okay if we move a little closer and get a little closer shot in front of them?
Hey, Cody, come here.
So this is Cody.
That's Cody.
Beautiful.
He's my heart horse. He's been real sick. So the vet's been out here, and the vet that he said, Cheryl, I drove by your house yesterday, and he says, I'm really sorry. And he says, you've been through enough, so this vet call is on me.
That's really kind.
Dr. Martini is so great, such a great vet. So you meet good people through animals too, So he loves kids. He challenges cowboys. He was always very obstinate, and he would test you to see if you knew how to ride or not. How much can I get away with? Very smart horse.
Nice.
You put a kid on him, and he's like, he's just real. I have so many wonderful photographs of him eye to eye with a little boy or a little girl, and they go up and they hug him on the face and everything. Great horse. Great.
That just shows you how, animals are truly special on this earth. They
bring out goodness in people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, usually.
Yeah, right.
Hopefully. There's a few that, and that we see a lot of that in rescue. The cruelty is, I hate it when they post stuff like that on Facebook, but I guess it's good that people know about it. But it's really hard in rescue seeing the abuse, the animal abuse that it is, and that's the reason why we always rush to get the most abused one.
There are no words. I've never seen anything like this. Unfortunately, it's becoming more and more common. These wildfires are sweeping across the West Coast. Climate change is leaving the air extremely hot. It's causing it to be boiling hot here in Southern California. As we have been reporting out here, it's been over 100 degrees, and here we are in October. This is not normal. The brush is dry. It's easy to catch fire. There are various causes for these fires, but when there's no water, when there's no moisture for these plants, it's easy for the fires to just catch and go for acres and acres and hundreds of thousands of acres all over the place. So we have climate change to thank for that, but on a much smaller micro level, it's about the lives that are forever changed by these fires. And we can't forget many, many lives were lost as well. So, we definitely thank Cheryl for sharing her story with us, that she's still in the midst of this story. And this, again, there are no words.
But I really want to rebuild. I mean, it was just such a great spot spiritually. Mm-hmm. It was just something spiritual about it that's there that you can't explain, and I really don't want to leave it.
That's completely understandable. Yeah. This is where you've built your home. This is where you've had your animals, where you've fallen in love with these animals, and they with you.
I felt real centered there. It was like I had a purpose.